minutes. T-minus 9 minutes. T-minus 8 minutes. T-minus 7 minutes. T-minus 6 minutes. T-minus 5 5 minutes. T-minus for minutes. T-minus 3 minutes. T-minus 2 minutes. T-minus 1 minute. Stand by.
How about that?
We're live, they tell me. Hello, all. Welcome to the RP Show for another bright and sunny day. I hope it is in your part of the world. We're ready to rock and roll here on the Game Plus Television Network, live streaming, and, of course, podcast form, if that's your thing. We're going to be headed to Texas in hour 2. Kenny Nagunst will be joining us from 806 Sports, Amarillo, Texas. Looking forward to that. Let's go to the Moose. He is back. He's with us. He's in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. And as we get ready to roll in the quick six show topics and Moose, the big story. Good to have you back on. Listen, there's people wearing Blue Jays gear all around Western Canada that I've seen because I've been all around Western Canada the last couple of days. You're in Toronto. What's it like out there, my dog?
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. They're making moves. To be honest, it's quieted down a little bit. They had the little losing streak coming out of the they went 8-1 out of the All-Star break, and they dropped 4 in a row. But all is well. The Jays are making moves. They're acquiring players. They're going all in, and it is definitely exciting around here.
It is a very exciting time, and let's let it rip. The big story here for those that are just tuning in, because from what I understand, there are people just finding us here in Season 7. It's the RP Show, Canada's daytime sports talk show, airing all across Canada on Game Plus TV, but also 32 U.S. states. We open with a quick six show topics, and I got some gooders in here, Moose. But the number one big story we do every day, it's different every day. Today it happens to be the Toronto Blue Jays. They made a splash on Major League Baseball trade deadline day today, acquiring right-hander Shane Bieber from the Cleveland Guardians. The Guardians are getting back righty Cal Steven, a 22-year-old minor league pitcher ranked number 5 in the Toronto system by MLB Pipeline. Bieber, 30, is nearing a return from Tommy John surgery and hasn't pitched in the majors this season. However, he's posted a 1.59 ERA across 4 rehab starts, including a 7 strikeout performance over 4 innings Tuesday with Double-A Akron. It's the Blue Jays' second major trade this week after adding reliever Sir Anthony Dominguez from the Baltimore Orioles on Tuesday. Now, I can't remember what I said to you on the air and off and who, what, but we've got Dustin Mulliken here as the pitching coach with the baseball team that I work for. Dustin was the starting pitcher for the Detroit Tigers. And I asked him last week, Dusty, I said, what do the Blue Jays need? He said, one arm. Well, it's the way Dusty is. One arm and one bat. Well, Darren, they've got 2 arms, and people are pretty excited about Shane Bieber, obviously, a Cy Young Award winner. They don't have that bat, though. But they are still the division leaders in the American League East. Do they have enough, do you think, to go all the way if they don't make any more moves?
Yeah, I wonder if one more move is coming. They made the move for Sir Anthony Dominguez from Baltimore in the middle of that doubleheader. Went from one end of the clubhouse to the next clubhouse, and pitched 1 inning that night and looked really, really good. He throws a lot of heat. Really excited about having him in the bullpen, and then Bieber in the rotation. That's a bit of a gamble from the Jays, but I think it's a calculated gamble. They've obviously been following the rehab starts, the surgery. They're comfortable enough to make this move. It's a player with a high ceiling, but he hasn't pitched all year in the majors, so that's comes with its share of risk. But a high ceiling, former Cy Young winner, if he can be added to the rotation and pitch anywhere near that Cy Young caliber, this would reflect kind of the Jays adding David Price when they did in 2015. As kind of a same caliber of move, very big, but maybe a bat is needed, especially to keep up. Now it feels like, well, not with the Yankees, but you got to keep up with the Mariners, who are in a wild card spot right now. They just maybe added the best bat available in at the trade deadline. They're for real. So the Jays trying to keep pace.
It's funny because I get such a bang out of this. Just slow it down a little. We came in hot today. I was out in Calgary for a couple of days. I called you yesterday from there and said how much fun I was having. We did the show from Overtime Hockey Lanes live yesterday, and Greg in Calgary, was a bunch of people showed up live yesterday. It was most people we've ever had actually for a live show, I think. And he wanted to talk about the Blue Jays and what are they going to do. And it's just, I get a bang out of this because somebody wrote in here last week. You weren't on, and they called us a bandwagon Blue Jays show, and I knew exactly what he meant. I'm like, it's not going to hurt my feelings. I don't have feelings. Yeah, we are Blue Jays coverers when they're winning. And it's summertime, and we're going to get to the CFL and spend a lot of time on it here today, but we're Blue Jays fans always, but we're going to talk about on this show when they're winning. I don't feel bad about that. Have we ever hid that, Darren? We only talk about it when they're winning. That's what most Canadians are. Am I right?
You're right, but it's not just that. I'm watching ESPN this morning, and I'm watching Get Up. They had Buster Olney on there talking about the Mariners' big move. And then as the Jays news came down, they talked about the Jays. Look, ESPN's not going to talk about the Toronto Blue Jays on a daily basis. But when they're winning, when they're relevant, and the audience cares, that's when they're going to talk about them. And honestly, we are Jays fans. I went to the games last year, had the season tickets. They were not very good. But the country cares when they're winning. And so we talk about it when they're winning.
That's the point. That's Canada. It's like America with hockey. People got excited during Four Nations face-off, believe it or not. And if your regional team is in the Stanley Cup final or having a run, they'll care. But it's not like the NFL in America where people every day that's their thing. And by the way, so we did 2 days of hockey shows largely, right? We had all the scouts on Tuesday. We had Darren Fleury yesterday. And I had people writing me, hockey people going, really loved the shows, really loved it. It was a nice taste. There's not much out there right now. And I'm like, guys, that's because it's July. Take a break. Take a break. The hockey people, God bless them, but it's Canada. You got 11 months of, I guess it's not 365, but let's say it's 24/7 for 335. You know what I mean? Just take a month off, guys, from hockey, which incidentally, a little later on, we'll talk about some more stories from the Western Canada Pro Hockey Scouting Foundation banquet the other night because it was a lot of fun. But again, Blue Jays, we're going to talk about when they're winning. Last year, like Moose, you had the season tickets you mentioned, and you didn't renew them because life got in the way, right? Are you missing going or not?
Yeah, big time. We had the quarter season tickets, so we didn't have the full season, 20 games, and I absolutely miss going. But you're right, life gets in the way. As you know, this is a very, I don't want to say expensive year. A lot of things coming up this year, a lot of big events happening this year. So it becomes, a lot and transition. But the team's good. I do miss going because the Jays are a fun team to watch this year.
I'm sure the vibe in that building is very positive. It was in Dunedin when I was there in the springtime watching Blue Jays spring training games, and it's just carried over into the regular season, and it's been awesome. Gary in Winnipeg writes in, Western Dodge text line, good morning, Rod. Presently, the air quality index is plus 10 in Winnipeg. I hope that tomorrow's Bomber game is not canceled. Signed, Gary. We got some CFL stuff to get to. A lot of NFL. Did you know there's an NFL preseason game tonight? We're going to talk about that. The CFL poll questions got a lot of people going, and I woke up today to Twitter drama. I got dragged into the Luke Wilson stuff. You and I haven't even talked about that, so we will when we come back. We're live on Game Plus TV, streaming live and found on all major podcast platforms.
This is a test pattern. This is what happens when your video company screws up. You don't want your clients to see a screw-up. Hire a company that only does video, so it won't screw up. Then, people who give you money will see less of these and more of you. Skycron.com/live.
Looking for a new ride without the big city pressure? Come to Western Dodge in Moose Jaw, where you'll find an unbeatable lineup of Ram trucks, Jeep SUVs, Dodge Muscle, and Chrysler family rides. With knowledgeable staff, great prices, and that friendly Moose Jaw touch, you'll drive away with confidence. Western Dodge, big selection, small town service. Visit us today or browse online at westerndodge.ca.
Do you worry about how much someone drinks?
Do you feel angry or depressed most of the time? Do you feel neglected or unloved?
Do you feel that if the drinker loved you, she or he would stop drinking?
If you answered yes to any of these questions, you are not alone.
Not everyone trapped by alcohol is an alcoholic.
Families and friends are suffering too. Al-Anon and Alateen can help. Call 1-866-200-0223 or visit alanon.org/help.
Sports fans, daytime sports talk gets a whole lot better weekdays at noon Eastern with The Rod Pedersen Show. Talking sports daily with A-list guests, and the best part is you can always join the discussion as we're the most interactive talk show on television. Broadcasting from coast to coast from the biggest events like Super Bowl, Stanley Cup Final, Grey Cup, and more. There's nothing like it in the game today. The Rod Pedersen Show, daily at noon Eastern and 10 p.m. Pacific on Game Plus Network.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Famoso, Italian pizzeria and bar. Taste, savor, share. Famoso, the spirit of Italian. Come in, enjoy.
Nazareth's Canadian Farewell Tour is coming to Moose Jaw. Live at Temple Garden Center, October 17th. With special guest, Lee Aaron. Tickets on sale now at Temple Garden Center box office or sasktix.ca.
Welcome back, everybody, live on the Game Plus Television Network. Wherever you're watching from, please let us know. The Western Dodge text line is open, 902-518-3033. Drive with confidence. Shop Western Dodge and Moose Jaw. Financing, selection, and service you can count on. Moose, before we switch gears to the CFL, we weren't talking Blue Jays earlier. Rich in Edmonton writes it. He says, BS, you were talking about the Jays when they were middling in mediocrity earlier this season. We were, but we weren't leading with them. We weren't leading with the big story, but we are now because they are World Series contenders, and today acquiring Shane Bieber from the Cleveland Guardians, a former Cy Young Award winner. They're in it to win it. Okay, Moose, point two. CFL Week 9 kicks off tonight with the Calgary Stampeders at the Ottawa Redblacks, and I wanted to mention to you, I was going to ask if you wanted to change your pick. I couldn't really remember who we went with earlier in the week. I'm not going to do that again. You and I will never make our picks on Monday. Too much is going to go on during the week, but we don't have to. We both picked Ottawa tonight anyways, back on Monday. But now we know Vernon Adams Jr. is not playing for the Calgary Stampeders tonight. It's going to be P.J. Walker against Drew Brown. Do you have interest in this game tonight at TD Place?
Plenty of interest. I am sitting here as like, what do you feel like, Nostradamus? Picking Ottawa to win that game back on Monday. And I did say we're going to have to change some of our picks or revisit this based on, the health of Vernon Adams, but also Zach Collaros, who we found out is ruled out for the game this week. So that's also a big change. I can't remember who we picked back on Monday. You're right. We won't do that again. But
we both picked Ottawa, but.
Yeah, Ottawa, but in the Winnipeg game, I can't remember who we picked on that one. But yeah, I'm interested. I'm interested to see how PJ Walker plays. I remember somebody wrote into the show last week, me like, "Oh, he's a bust. He's a bust. We saw him because he didn't lead him back to a victory." Well, it's not that easy, and it's not going to be decided in one half of football. It's not going to be decided this week either, whether PJ Walker is going to be able to survive in the Canadian Football League or not. But we're going to have some interest, I think, around him. And also Ottawa needing a big win.
You picked Toronto. I picked Winnipeg. And I'm going to stay with the Bombers. Are you going to stay with Toronto?
Yeah, I am.
Okay. So moving on to point 3 is still CFL. Quick 6 show topics. This was a very popular item, by the way, yesterday at Overtime Hockey Lanes. People wanted to see it. People wanted to take pictures with it. The Quick 6 show horn. I'm not joking. So when I wake up, like everybody, I check my phone, and I did a few things, and then I headed out for my very long walk that I do every morning. And Darren, it's never a good sign when you open your Twitter and you have that notification that says 20 plus. I'm like, oh boy. I quite often wonder what Donald Trump's Twitter must look like, because mine was blowing up. I'm like, what now? And I got sucked into this Twitter war now between Luke Wilson and Eddie Steele, because Eddie came on the air on Monday here and kind of ripped apart Luke Wilson. And Luke's been going back at Eddie. And basically, Luke Wilson said, instead of you two talking about what happened to your bad experiences in the CFL and trying to figure me out, why don't you talk about the bad attendance in the CFL? And I don't know if you saw my response to that, but I said, we don't talk about it because people don't want to hear the truth. And if you want to talk about it, you have a standing invite to come on this show, which he inexplicably ignores. But that's Luke Wilson, who, by the way, I love. And I love Eddie Steele, too. Darren, there must be people in your world that don't get along, but you get along with both of them, and it's awkward.
Yeah.
That's kind of what's going on here. And so I'm going to land the plane. I thought anybody that was watching the show the last couple of days would know how annoyed I was by this. I'm in Calgary for barely more than 48 hours. Probably wasn't even there for 48 hours. And I got people up in my face. Are you worried about the CFL? No. You know why? Because they're not. And it doesn't affect my life. And it was pissing me off. I'm here for hockey. I'm in overtime hockey lanes. But then, just go with it. That's the poll question today is for EMJ Marketing. Are you worried about the future of the CFL? Because here's Luke Wilson saying, why don't you talk about the bad attendance? Well, the CFL doesn't want us talking about that. I'm surprised you're talking about it, Luke. But so, yeah, why you got me. I wasn't prepared to do it yesterday. I had Darren Fleury there live. It was a very emotional show. But I'll do it today. All of this. One thing Luke said, he went to ChatGPT and noticed there was a pretty significant drop in CFL attendance going back 15 years ago that they've never recovered from. I'm pretty sure it's down even from, like last year. But so that's my rant on that. Are you concerned for the future of the CFL, Darren?
No, I'm not. And I'm voting no, and I'm voting it a million times. But I'm aware that there's issues and that we need to take action. We can't ignore it and just say that this league's just going to fix itself. But I'm not concerned because I have faith in Stuart Johnson and the new leadership in the Canadian Football League. And so he's just been on the job months. It's going to take some time, and we need to give him some opportunity to leave a stamp on this league, create a legacy, and get this league where he wants it to go. So, no, right now I'm not concerned at all. But I mean, I'm aware that attendance isn't great. I'm aware, that's not perfect. But I think, this league's going to try and find a way, and I think they're going to come out of this.
Well, and the thing is that I find it annoying for a lot of reasons, but that seems to be the narrative around the CFL, and it has been for decades, but it's getting a lot louder because people watch the games on television and see all the empty seats. Yeah, it's unsightly. We're used to seeing Commonwealth filled and BC Place filled and even Mosaic Stadium filled. And kudos to you, Winnipeg. You're filled all the time. Tomorrow or Saturday, what day, whatever day the game is, Friday night will be another sellout in Winnipeg. They're 9th in a row. So Winnipeg's good. But it's just, you make a great point about Stuart Johnston. I mean, he just clearly wants to ease into this role as the commissioner. I don't know what he could do. He can't wave a wand. Luke Wilson brought up the attendance figures. It's been 15 years then. Well, what happened roughly around then? They tied a can to Mark Cohan. They jumped in bed with TSN, their lone television partner. There was a lot of bad decisions made around that time, right? But most people, and definitely not sports leagues or teams, really want to examine their bad past or bad decisions. They don't want to look at the bad decisions and learn from them. They just want to move forward. That's where I think the CFL is now. You made some really stupid decisions back then. And a lot of the people that made those decisions aren't even around anymore. But it's these people now that have to deal with it. And I guess my point on all of this is what's another thing that's annoying is that the games have been fantastic. Like Jeff, the Stamps fan, writes in, he says, Eddie Steele and Luke Wilson are punking you. No, they're not. Not when I got them DMing me to talk about the other guy. No, they're having an actual Twitter war, Jeff, the Stamps fan, which I'm surprised you're even here and not watching that because you love that kind of stuff. I do not. But Eddie is, I'll speak for him. he was offended that Luke's called the play in the CFL amateurish. And it's kind of referring to it as a beer league. And anybody that played in this league for the last 100 years would take offense to that. Luke seems surprised that people are upset at his criticism of how bad the product is. So I'll flip that. I love Luke a lot. I love his spirit. I love his intelligence. For all the reasons you do, it's hilarious how he spars with people or knocks them out. He's really, really smart. But I don't agree with him that the product is bad. Almost every night, the games have been fantastic. I still can't remember that kid's name for the BC Lions. Robert Taylor? That's what it was? I'm sorry. Marketing's the problem. Not the talent, not the problem. The pick, you know what I'm talking about, in Vancouver on Sunday. And the comeback with Bo Levi. And the entertainment factor is amazing. That's not a problem. So it's, why are we not talking about that? Why is it always... Are you worried about the future of the CFL? You said you're not. I'm not. But for a variety, I don't care. I don't see them doing anything to change what's going on. So why would I worry? And for the people that say, are you worried? I was so stunned and flabbergasted and a little pissed off, I didn't really respond. But when I thought about it later, I'm like, well, if you're worried, when's the last time you went to a CFL game? Because if all the people that were bitching about it bought a ticket, there would be no problems. Okay? So to the product, I don't know how much CFL you've watched, Darren, but I think you would agree. It's been a really good season for football.
It's been fantastic. The product has been really, really good. Highlighted by that BC Hamilton game, which is maybe the game of the year, the finish of the year in the league. It's been incredible. But I'm a little concerned that the league can keep up this pace of how great the games are, because I'm a big believer in that the product, the league, viewership, all hinges on the quarterbacks. That's what's so, it's such an important part. And in the Canadian Football League this year, am I wrong in saying outside of Hamilton, everybody's had to deal with quarterback issues? Hamilton's the only one that hasn't. BC didn't have Nathan Rourke to start the year. Now Vernon Adams in Calgary. They've used both quarterbacks in Edmonton. Saskatchewan, Trevor Harris most of the year, but he was out for a game, I think, right? In Winnipeg now, Zach Collaros, if he's not healthy, look where the team's gone. Montreal's dealt with quarterback issues. Ottawa with Drew Brown not being able to stay on the field. Toronto doesn't have their starting quarterback still, and he's on the 6-game list. That's across the league, unprecedented, all these quarterbacks not being healthy. That concerns me when it comes to the CFL. But the product still has remained fantastic.
Andrew writes in and says, I'm willing to give Luke Wilson the benefit of the doubt, and I am not on Twitter to get his messages. I know he posts negative things about the CFL. Does he also post positive things about the CFL? Perhaps he does. He does. Not as much as the criticisms, but that's what you get known for. Come on, Andrew. People pick and choose, right? John in Edmonton says, Rod, why is Luke Wilson working for the CFL and TSN then if he's bad-mouthing them? I don't know, John. I'm not the CFL, nor am I TSN. You should ask them. I don't know the answer to that. Wayne in BC says, it's Robert Carter Jr., Rod. I'm sorry that I can't remember, but I'm also not sorry. I got a lot of things going in and out of my head. And Nathan writes in and says, we need players on things like cereal boxes, etc. And that is the crux of it all. We talked about the games earlier in this segment, and I'd like to talk more about the games. And by the way, next segment, we're going to flip to NFL. And Kenny Nagunst is coming up in hour 2 from 806 Sports Texas to talk about a lot more NFL, just so you know. But on the CFL thing, it's about the players. Robert Carter Jr. Yeah, the highlight's been shared a million times of the interception. Is one of the greatest we've ever seen. But I still can't remember his name. I don't have him in front of my face. I watch SportsCenter all the time. I don't see any CFL talk on there. And don't even get me started on Sportsnet. They don't even know the CFL exists. So it's a breakdown in marketing. We don't know who the players are. I sit here and watch these games with our guy Joe, and I'm like, who's this Robustelli guy? And I'm in Saskatchewan. At the very least, here they had Corey Mace on billboards across the province, the head coach, which they should. Now they don't even have those. Darren, I don't know who the players are, and I'm a fan. What about everybody else that isn't? How are they supposed to get tuned in to players that don't even know who they are?
I know it becomes difficult, and I think there's not an easy answer, but you have to narrow the focus figure out who your stars are, market the heck out of them, and hope the other guys create a little bit of the, get a little bit of that spill off attention. You have to focus on the stars. You have to get them out in the communities. You have to put them in front of people. You just have to do it. It's a long game, but it's one that needs to be done.
That's the breakdown. That's the breakdown. They're not getting the players in front of people anymore, so you don't feel a connection to any of them. That would be my answer to that. And I cannot wait to go to a break and come back with the NFL, because Jeff, the Stamps fan, writes in and says maybe the CFL should do a WWE-style halftime promotion involving Wilson and Eddie Steele. The CFL should do a lot of things, and where I get to the end of my rope, this is not a sports marketing therapy session for disgruntled CFL fans that are pissing and moaning about it. Okay, I've talked about it for the degree that I want to today. So we're switching topics when we come back, because it's negative and it's depressing and it's toxic. And these Twitter wars are disgusting. We'll be right back. We're live on the Game Plus Television Network. We are streaming on YouTube and, of course, found on all major podcast platforms.
Country's hottest party is coming. James Barker Band, Bud Light Buckle Up Tour 2025. Live across Canada with special guests Ryan and Rory. November 20th, Temple Garden Center. Tickets on sale now at Temple Garden Center box office or online at zasktix.ca. James Barker Band Live.
Sports fans, daytime sports talk gets a whole lot better weekdays at noon Eastern with The Rod Pedersen Show. Talking sports daily with A-list guests, and the best part is, you can always join the discussion as we're the most interactive talk show on television. Broadcasting from coast to coast from the biggest events like Super Bowl, Stanley Cup Final, Grey Cup, and more, there's nothing like it in the game today. The Rod Pedersen Show, daily at noon Eastern and 10 p.m. Pacific on Game Plus Network.
Famoso, Italian pizzeria and bar. Taste, savor, share. Famoso, the spirit of Italian. Come in, enjoy.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Hiring a video company shouldn't be complicated. Click, pay, done. Skycron.com/Regina. This is a test pattern. This is what happens when your video company screws up. You don't want your clients to see a screw up. Hire a company that only does video, so it won't screw up. Then, people who give you money will see less of these and more of you. Skycron.com/live.
Sports fans, daytime sports talk gets a whole lot better weekdays at noon Eastern with The Rod Pedersen Show. Talking sports daily with A-list guests, and the best part is, you can always join the discussion as we're the most interactive talk show on television. Broadcasting from coast to coast from the biggest events like Super Bowl, Stanley Cup Final, Grey Cup, and more, there's nothing like it in the game today. The Rod Pedersen Show, daily at noon Eastern and 10 p.m. Pacific on Game Plus Network.
All right, we're back, everybody. We're back, and I don't like this. I don't like this segment. It's our last segment with Moose for the day. I don't like that. I wish we had him for more time, but duty calls. The Western Dodge text line is humming, 902-518-3033, and we will get to that more after Moose adjourns. We certainly got people going with the CFL talk, which is a good thing, but it's not all 100% positive. But I want to switch it around to NFL because it is becoming Canada's most popular football league, the National Football League, and we are in 32 U.S. states. So I got some notes here on my own. I got enough. But how about you, Darren, with what you're doing? What are you watching? What are you seeing out of NFL training camps?
I'm seeing a lot today about the Pittsburgh Steelers and Aaron Rodgers and this talk that they believe they're a Super Bowl contender. And I don't know if I'm buying that, but I'm not buying that they're not either. It all depends on Aaron Rodgers. Like, you can say he's washed up, and he probably is, based on what we saw in New York. But I can't say that he's not either because of what he's done in his career. He always is a threat to get back to that or get close to that. So he could push him over the hump. But the story that is coming up on my radar that I'm kind of looking forward to, and one of the storylines I'm really interested in come the season, is Jacksonville and Travis Hunter. And how much will he play this year? There was somebody who said he wants to play every snap of the ball game. Offense, defense, special teams. He wants to be on the field every single snap. That's not going to happen. But how much will he play on offense? How much will he play on defense? What will be his focus? And does he have an opportunity? Is he going to have a real impact on the Jaguars and the NFL? I'm curious.
It was funny because Travis Hunter's from West Palm, just up the road from me in South Florida, and they love him. They say he's a real nice boy. And I'm like, well, he's not a boy anymore. He's a man. He's in his first NFL training camp, right? Heisman Trophy winner. And all the good ones want to play every rep, I like to hear that. I got a few things here. Well, this is, you got to be careful about the media, everybody. Don't trust them, says the media to you. I'm going to get to the Dallas Cowboys in a second, and Kenny Nagunst is going to be with us in hour 2 from 806 Sports Texas. We'll be talking Cowboys-Texans more there. NFL star turned broadcaster Shannon Sharpe won't return to ESPN after settling a lawsuit that accused him of sexual assault. The Associated Press says the network chose to part ways with the Hall of Fame tight end. Sharpe, who denied the allegations, last appeared on ESPN in April when the lawsuit was filed. I'm just shelving the actual football talk for this for a second because I don't know. I've been around Shannon Sharpe quite a bit at Super Bowls and stuff. He might have been there when you were there. I'm not going to pass judgment on whether he's a good or bad guy. I don't know. But what I will say is, sad situation here, but I won't miss him. I won't miss him at all. I thought he was okay on there. I didn't think he was great. But one thing I've learned in being in the football media, and especially in the U.S., there are 1,000 guys, maybe 2, 3, 4,000 ready to jump over you. What?
That's it. Like, this isn't Hockey Night in Canada where you got one panel once a week. I mean, now they're on a few more days a week.
Yep.
This is the NFL. And Shannon Sharpe's really good, and it's unfortunate. I don't know the story, but when there's multiple allegations stacking up, it's not always good. And he's a real talented guy, and I love his personality on the air as a broadcaster. But there are so many guys just on ESPN alone that he's not going to be missed. He's not the only guy with takes. He's not the only guy with opinions. Unfortunately, he'll be replaced fairly quickly, and ESPN isn't going to take the risk of any of this stuff being true for just one guy out of 100 at the network, unfortunately.
I would think they did their own investigation, but I don't know. I don't know anything about it at all. I follow this situation just like you and everybody else. Follow the details of the lawsuit. The text messages went back and forth, and they were, to me, disturbing. But I'm a prude. I don't know. But I think you just said it well. And that's where a lot of people are afraid about cancel culture and everything, because it doesn't take much anymore. Well, cancel culture is not what it was before. It still exists. So you'd better live a pretty clean life if you're in a public spot like that, is all that I'm saying. I look at Michael Irvin. I met him with you at Super Bowl. Huge fan of Michael Irvin, but he hasn't really resurfaced since the incident at the Arizona Super Bowl a couple years ago. And if you don't know what it is, I'm not going to get into it now. But I'm just saying the analysts, and even the good ones, are a dime a dozen. So Shannon Sharpe is gone. He wasn't even there that long. So anyways, it's a different time. To the training camps. We don't have, we got enough time here. Just with the Cowboys. Darren, I don't know how I'm going to handle this NFL season. And I don't know how much Titans, that's your team, how much Titans you're following. But number one, there were fights at training camp yesterday with the Cowboys in Oxnard, and Brian Schottenheimer, his kid, the Cowboys head coach, had to stop practice twice and pull them apart, and everybody acts, ooh, I have fights in camp. Who cares? The Riders had them in training camp. Remember that? And they have the best team in the CFL at 6-1. Fights in camp are a good thing. So that's one thing. Two, I saw some quote from Dak Prescott about, I can't even remember, but he basically said it's time to shut up, put up or shut up, and there's a target on us. It's just noise coming out of Cowboys camp. It's always just noise. And I'm annoyed already, and they haven't even kicked off. Yeah. Tell me about the Titans.
I know. You know what? I'm watching Titans coverage sparingly right now. It's going to ramp up as we get closer. I think we're 5 weeks away from the start of the season. But, it's Cam Ward. It's all about Cam Ward, the number one overall pick in the draft, and deservedly so. But he's had some rough days at camp, underthrowing receivers and all the rest. And I guess he needed a big day yesterday. Had a better day yesterday. But literally every day it's, how was Cam Ward? How was Cam Ward? And throwing some better balls, getting some chemistry with the Canadian Alec Manor. So that's really positive. And some people thinking that the Titans can challenge for a playoff spot. So that's, and it'll be because of Cam Ward. So looking forward to see how he does in his first season. And the other thing I wanted to mention away from the Titans was the game you mentioned the game tonight, that we got a preseason game tonight and the Hall of Fame game, and the Chargers and the Lions. Detroit is one of these interesting teams I haven't talked about much. Almost feels like a local team here. Everybody's a Bills fan in the GTA, but Detroit's only 5 hours away. And to me, one of the biggest storylines in the NFL is Detroit and their new coordinators. They were so good for the last couple of years. Ben Johnson's now the head coach in Chicago. And what's his name? John Morton. So I got to even remember his name. John Morton's the offensive coordinator now in Detroit. Will he have the chemistry with Jared Goff? Will he be able to get this offense humming the way that Ben Johnson did? Otherwise, you could see a big drop-off in Detroit after they're getting and building towards contending for a Super Bowl.
And I have this written down here. I want to say something else. Back to the Cowboys for a second. I was so upset last week. I don't think you were on with me when Jerry was questioned about how long he's going to stay on as GM of the Cowboys at 81 or 82, whatever he is. And he's like, after all I've given to this friggin' team. That's bad leadership, okay? We can talk about the Saskatchewan Roughriders and Ken Miller, who said, put it on me. I'll always take the bullet. Or Kelly McCrimmon in Vegas, to use a hockey vein, when they fired Gerard Gallant and everybody was upset. How are you firing Gerard Gallant? He took you to the Stanley Cup final in year 1. You're only in year 3 and you're firing. Kelly McCrimmon stands before the microphones and says, put it on me. It was my decision to fire him. After all I've given, how could you question? Do you know what I'm saying? Like for Cody Fajardo when he stood up and said, put it on me. The second he said that in Saskatchewan, I was like, oh boy, don't say that, Cody, because they will. And they did. But once somebody stands up and says, hey, have you ever seen Jerry Jones stand up and go, I'm the reason we haven't been in an NFC championship game in 29 years, but I'll fix it. Darren, have you ever seen that?
No. And when guys and gals fall on their sword and say, hey, look, this was, I messed up, but I've got a way out of this. I can fix it. It makes you believe or want to follow them and give them a chance. Because when you recognize you made the mistake, then you trust that they can also recognize to find a way out of it. If you can't see that you've made the mistake, how are you going to see the path out? How do I trust that? It's hard.
And that's why I get upset, because the season hasn't even started yet. And I'm sick of Jerry Jones. What the hell am I going to do? And I'm not going to change teams. Okay.
How's
Jeff,
blood
the Stamps
pressure
fan,
today?
says, oh boy, did Rider fans ever put it on him? Yes, they did. I'm like, this is not the place you should say that, Cody, but God bless you for saying it. I know what you're trying to do. Oh, Moose, go have a great afternoon, my friend. This has been a lot of fun.
Never enough time with you, my friend. We'll see you.
Never enough time. Sports update coming up and viewer takeover right after this here on Game Plus TV and streaming live.
Sports fans, daytime sports talk gets a whole lot better weekdays at noon Eastern with The Rod Pedersen Show. Talking sports daily with A-list guests, and the best part is you can always join the discussion as we're the most interactive talk show on television. Broadcasting from coast to coast from the biggest events like Super Bowl, Stanley Cup Final, Grey Cup, and more, there's nothing like it in the game today. The Rod Pedersen Show, daily at noon Eastern and 10 p.m. Pacific on Game Plus Network.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Sports fans, daytime sports talk gets a whole lot better weekdays at noon Eastern with The Rod Pedersen Show. Talking sports daily with A-list guests, and the best part is you can always join the discussion as we're the most interactive talk show on television. Broadcasting from coast to coast from the biggest events like Super Bowl, Stanley Cup Final, Grey Cup, and more, there's nothing like it in the game today. The Rod Pedersen Show, daily at noon Eastern and 10 p.m. Pacific on Game Plus Network.
This is a test pattern. This is what happens when your video company screws up. You don't want your clients to see a screw up. Hire a company that only does video, so it won't screw up. Then, people who give you money will see less of these and more of you. Skycron.com/live.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Famoso, Italian pizzeria and bar. Taste, savor, share. Famoso, the spirit of Italian. Come in, enjoy.
Hiring a video company shouldn't be complicated. Click, pay, done. Skycron.com/Regina.
Welcome back, everybody. It's just me and you for the next 40 minutes. Think we can handle that? I know that we can. I have a sports update coming up and a lot of your messages here on the Western Dodge text line to keep us company up until the top of the hour. And then into hour two, Kenny Nagunst will be joining us from 806 Sports, Amarillo, Texas. We're talking some NFL with him. He's also the general manager of the expansion Amarillo Warbirds of the Indoor Football League. How about that? But just, I'll say this about the Cowboys for a second, and why I'm upset. I think we've covered that. We already got Stephen A. Smith banging on the Cowboys every day on ESPN. You don't need me banging on them every day, even though they are my team. But here's the thing that annoys me They let these contract situations go so late into the season in some cases, like Dak Prescott last year. And Jerry doesn't know what he's doing. And I just came from the Hockey Scouts Foundation banquet, right, where my dad was inducted. I'm sure you're all tired of me talking about that, but I don't care. It's my show. And being around 500 hockey guys on Tuesday night, and they all know that I live in Florida for 9 months and cover the Panthers and do a show down there. And they're all like, those Panthers, these are all the hockey guys. Ken Holland was there. Craig Conroy was there. Craig Button from TSN was there. Some of the biggest names in hockey were there. And everybody, well, not everybody, but the guys I was talking to, we're talking about the Florida Panthers. And they're like, man, look at what Bill Zito's doing, man. He's got all his contracts done ahead of time. He doesn't let it go to the last hour. He ripped up Paul Maurice's contract in October, gave him a $2 million raise, the head coach. And look how he rewarded Bill Zito with that. You know, Barkov, Kachuk, Verhage, all these guys were signed to long-term deals even before free agency, which they won that too. It's planning ahead and creating a great culture. And then you got Dallas, where we got a rotating door in the head coach's office, contracts going into the next season, last minute, because you didn't budget right. So that's why. Pearl writes in from Calgary. She says, nice to see you in our part of the country. Thank you. It was great to be in your part of the country, but I will tell you that Alberta feels like my part of the country, too. I've spent so much time there. And I'm not closing the book on being there again someday. You just never know. People plan and God laughs, right? Let me do a sports update before we jump into the cauldron that is the text line. Sports update for Cool Bet Canada, 15 wins. Number 1 seed, Super Bowl betting favorites. The Detroit Lions fell way short last season, going one and done in the playoffs after having the best regular season in franchise history. But they still have a loaded roster, stacked with talent and plenty of unfinished business. The Detroit Lions kick off their quest for their first Super Bowl title when they take on the Los Angeles Chargers tonight in the NFL Hall of Fame game, opening the NFL preseason schedule. The Chargers are also coming off a season that ended with a loss in their playoff opener, a wild card game against Houston. But it was a different vibe in Los Angeles where Jim Harbaugh came in and led a 6-win improvement. You're not going to get a real taste of what these teams are going to be tonight, but you can watch them in the Hall of Fame game in Canton, Ohio. That's right. NFL preseason kicks off tonight. Are you ready for that? The Lions and the Chargers. Meanwhile, the Toronto Blue Jays have made a splash on baseball's trade deadline day, acquiring former Cy Young award-winning pitcher Shane Bieber from the Cleveland Guardians. Cleveland receives minor league pitcher Cal Steven, ranked the number 5 prospect in Toronto's system. The 30-year-old Bieber is nearing a return from Tommy John surgery, hasn't pitched in the majors this season, but has had 4 quality rehab starts. So he's on his way to Toronto, everybody. The Blue Jays on this trade deadline, as promised by Jamie Campbell on this show, have been active. We'll see if they're done. The sports headlines are for Cool Bet Canada. Get a welcome bonus up to $200 with the promo code RP200 at coolbet.com. Into the text line. 902-518-3033 for Western Dodge, proud partners of the RP show. Western Dodge and Moose Jaw, big city selection with small town service. Chris in Heidelberg, Ontario says, have you gentlemen heard much about El Gersma and Rourke in their NFL camps? I haven't heard one word about either one of those guys, Chris from Heidelberg, Ontario. The beautiful thing, though, about today's digital age of media, you can go find it. I'm covering really only Cowboys, or following really only Cowboys camp. Or if I'm watching NFL Network, which I've put on quite a bit when I've been home, because I can't get enough of it. What a nice template they have there where they just set up 2 directors' chairs on the sidelines and just have 2 analysts talking about camp. The thing is, what have I seen? In Green Bay, they brought in Jordan Love on the sidelines. In Kansas City, they brought in Patrick Mahomes. They're going to be interviewing the top guns. They're not going to be interviewing, unfortunately, the late round, if drafted at all, Canadian quarterbacks. You're going to have to dig into the camp reports. You're going to have to dig into the score sheets once they start playing games. There's not a lot of coverage of those guys. Not that I've seen. So I haven't. Unless it's in my face, there hasn't been a lot of coverage of that. Kirk in Toronto writes in quite a bit of stuff here regarding the poll question and other things. The poll question today is, are you worried about the CFL's future? Which I loathe to ask, but I'm not an idiot. I've been in this business a long time. You got to go with what people are talking about. And in Calgary, people were up in my face all the time with that question. So let's put it to you. And by the way, 58% of people are saying no, they're not worried about the CFL's future. That's another thing. Why would you worry about it? It was like when the Blue Jays signed George Springer for $25 million a year. And I said to, who's the podcaster that come? Mike Wilner, former host of Jays Talk. I said, they overspent. He goes, not your money. No, it's not. That's a great point. I'm not going to worry about it. Last I checked, the CFL's not paying me. Therefore, I'm not really worried about their future. You dig? Kirk in Toronto says the CFL game has always been great, but more bums in the seats would be great. And the one thing for me is the 10th team somewhere in the East, probably Halifax, for a balanced schedule. Oh, my God. He goes, I know, Rod. It ain't going to happen. He read my mind, but I can dream. And he says, hey, Rod, TSN's highly rated Overdrive show is talking more about the Argos and the CFL. Could that be because of Luke Wilson? He's a regular on there. And he says, great thing if you live in Southern Ontario. 4 NFL teams, Detroit, Cleveland, Pittsburgh, and Buffalo, are within a 6-hour drive away. How about that? That's Kirk from Toronto with a few thoughts on all of that. Fake Gainer writing in, masquerading as Brother Sasko. Hi, Father Rod and Brother Moose. Not to beat off the dead Luke Wilson horse, appreciate his criticism, but I am instead really focusing and enjoying the CFL this summer. Best summer in a while. Tight playoff races. OGs, Harris, Adams, and Bo Levi looking good. AF. And I am excited what the league is going to do with the next TV and streaming deal soon. Could be heading for another golden age like 07 to 2014 soon. Woo! Signed Brother Sasko. Well, that's the part where Luke Wilson and I disagree, and we DM back and forth today on a variety of things. I want to make it very clear. Every time I see his face show up on Friday Night Football, my heart gets warm. I think he's awesome. But to talk about amateurish play in the CFL and the Twitter wars that he's got into with ex-players is distasteful for me. Am I allowed my opinion? That's all. I don't think denigrating the product is a way to go about selling more tickets. Call me crazy. What do I know? Aircore writes in and says, Curtis Rourke is injured and rehabbing. Ooh, there you go. Arlen Bruce III. People plan and God laughs. Classic. Oh, it's not mine. I didn't come up with it. I didn't come up with much. Chargers by 8 tonight. Hilarious that you would say that, AB, because in my mind when I was looking at the point spread, which, by the way, somebody's favored by 1.5. I think it's the Lions. Hang on. I had it here. I'm like, if you're betting on NFL preseason football, you are one of two things, a fool or a degenerate. Which one are you? It's the Lions favored by 2.5. They've upped the line to 2.5 for the Lions. You got a problem if you're betting on NFL preseason football. I'm just saying. Next hour, we have 2 minutes here, but next hour, I want to get into some of the funny lines and the inspirational lines, too, by the way, from Tuesday night's Pro Hockey Scouting Foundation Hall of Fame induction gala that my dad went into the Hall of Fame for. Speaking of, you got a serious problem. I'll tell you a quick story. Rich Sutter, Ron Sutter, his twin brother, when they were playing, one of them was playing like midget or maybe bantam in Red Deer. He came back to the farm and said, the coach, gave me hell that I wasn't working hard enough in the game. And the dad, Louis Sutter, said, if you're from the farm, you're a farmer. If you can't work 18 to 19 minutes a night in a hockey game, there's something seriously wrong with you. That was from Louis Sutter. And Ronnie's like, I never forgot it. If you want to know why the Sutters had a work ethic like that, when Brian Sutter went to go to St. Louis for his first NHL training camp, his dad, Louis, said, just remember, you're a farmer, not a hockey player. You're a farmer first. So then the host, Dennis Bayak, last night said in the interview, or Tuesday night, he goes, Brian, you're in your 70s. If that's what he is, I think he is. Why are you still farming? Brian's like, because I'm a farmer. Hello. So it was great. Bill in Regina writes in, he says, good morning, Rod. Today's show has been fun to listen to while weeding the gardens. One question, did you have decaf today or double-double? I've had 3 coffees today. And I'm happy to report that my blood pressure is coming down. It's not where not where we'd like to see it, but it's going the right direction. Direction is more important than speed. We'll be back with Hour 2 coming up in a moment here on Game Plus Television, streaming live and found on all major podcast platforms.
Hiring a video company shouldn't be complicated. Click, pay, done. Skycron.com/Regina.
Famoso. Italian pizzeria and bar. Taste. Savor. Share. Famoso. Spirito Italian. Come in. Enjoy.
This is a test pattern. This is what happens when your video company screws up. You don't want your clients to see a screw-up. Hire a company that only does video, so it won't screw up. Then, people who give you money will see less of these and more of you. Skycron.com/live.
Famoso. Italian pizzeria and bar. Taste. Savor. Share. Famoso. Spirito Italian. Come in. Enjoy.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Sports fans, daytime sports talk gets a whole lot better weekdays at noon Eastern with the Rod Pedersen Show. Talking sports daily with A-list guests, and the best part is, you can always join the discussion as we're the most interactive talk show on television. Broadcasting from coast to coast from the biggest events like Super Bowl, Stanley Cup Final, Grey Cup, and more, there's nothing like it in the game today. The Rod Pedersen Show, daily at noon Eastern and 10 p.m. Pacific on Game Plus Network.
Hiring a video company shouldn't be complicated. Click, pay, done. Skycron.com/Regina.
It is Hour 2 of the RP Show. Welcome on up inside, everybody. Where's John Ohm today, by the way? I fixed my gong just for him, and he ain't here. Kenny Nagunst is coming up in the next segment at about a quarter after the hour. from 806 Sports, Amarillo, Texas, to talk some NFL and maybe even some indoor football. He's the general manager of the expansion Amarillo Warbirds. But just to get you caught up, we're in one today, which I love being in Calgary for 2 days. I love that town, but it's nice to be home here in the Golden Ticket Sports Center, and we're having a good one. And before I get you caught up on where the viewers are with their comments and the vibe of what you all have missed, here's the quick six show topics. And we got to throw in breaking news on that, too. The Toronto Blue Jays have made a splash on MLB trade deadline day today, acquiring right-hander Shane Bieber from the Cleveland Guardians. Cleveland receiving righty Cal Steven, the Jays' number 5 prospect, 22-year-old minor league pitcher from he was ranked as such by MLB Pipeline. Shane Bieber, 30 years of age, nearing a return from Tommy John surgery. Hasn't pitched in the majors this season, but has posted a 1.59 ERA across 4 rehab starts in Double-A Akron. It's the Jays' second major trade this week after adding reliever Sir Anthony Dominguez from the Baltimore Orioles on Tuesday. And yeah, we're all excited about it. Of course we are. The Blue Jays are the division leaders. I went to my baseball guys because I'm no baseball expert, and I said, what do the Jays need? They said a bat and an arm. Well, they got 2 arms, and see if they do something with that extra bat before the day is over. But it's exciting. Jays off today. They got Kansas City beginning tomorrow. Week 2, CFL Week 9 kicks off tonight. Talked about that with Moose. Early on Monday, we made our picks for the week. For Pump Jacks, we're a sports bar. Pump Jacks Cathedral and Pump Jacks Steakhouse and Saloon in Weyburn. It is Ottawa home to Calgary tonight. Moose and I have both picked Ottawa to win, and we picked them on Monday. Vernon Adams Jr. will not play tonight. Jeff, the Stamps fan, is predicting that P.J. Walker will be following the footsteps of Doug Flutie, Jeff Garcia, Bo Levi Mitchell, Henry Burris to become the next Stampeders great. I guess that's why we got to tune in tonight. Point 3 was the poll question. I woke up this morning and was embroiled in a Twitter war that I didn't even – it's my own fault in that I brought Eddie Steele on the show here on Monday because Eddie is the Grey Cup champion D-tackle now doing radio in Edmonton, and he had issues with Luke Wilson referring to the CFL as amateurish, some of the play and some of his comments, inflammatory comments. Those two were going at each other, and I got looped into it this morning. And Luke said, hey, instead of you two talking about me and what's happened to you in the CFL, why don't you talk about the attendance that's taken a nosedive? And I'm like, it's not our job to talk about the attendance. I don't want to talk about the attendance. And while I was in Calgary for 2 days, yeah, they told me when I was in Calgary, when I was trying to do hockey out there over the past few years, they're like, they just all see you here. We see you as the rider guy. And I'm like, well, that's great, but I'm not the rider guy. And I haven't been for years, and I will never be again. But whatever. A lot of people were up in my face in Calgary about, are you worried about the CFL? I'm like, I don't want to talk about it. It's negative. It's toxic. It's draining. It's depressing. But hey, that's the narrative. And that's the poll question today for EMJ Marketing. Are you worried for the future of the CFL? From impactful speakers to strategic marketing, EMJ Marketing is your complete solution. EMJmarketing.com. Last I checked, 58% of you saying no, you're not worried about the future of the CFL. And so whatever. I love Luke Wilson. I love watching him on TV. I think he's a great guy. We've conversed DM. I know he's a great guy. But saying that the product, denigrating the product, which is CFL football, number one, doesn't help. And number two, I don't agree with it. I think the product's amazing. The football has been tremendous this year. We've seen great plays. We've seen great comebacks. So we got to agree to disagree on that. And he doesn't like that I don't agree with him. Get in line. Point 4, NFL camps. We're going to be talking a hell of a lot more NFL here in the next segment when Kenny Nagunst joins us from 806 Sports in Texas. Shannon Sharpe leaving ESPN following a lawsuit that he settled with a past lover. That's news now. And then the hockey stuff. But while we're here, I thought this guy was joking when he wrote in earlier, Brandon Lewis. He goes, I'm more worried about the NFL future. I'm like, there's no way he could be. But then he explained why. He says they keep losing historic franchises. The Raiders, the Chargers, their TV broadcasting has gone downhill. Brandon, I feel like when the older people that I could refer to, like for me, the older people, when they put their arm around me and said, let's go for a walk. Those people were the Wally Buonos and the Adam Ritas and the Don Matthews and the Ken Millers, those kinds of guys. And in the recovery field, the Rand Teeds and the Bob Merriers and the David Ogilvies, they would put their arm around me. You don't understand something, let me make it clear for you. Now I'm the guy putting my arm around people and saying, let me just explain something here to you. The NFL didn't lose those franchises. The franchises just moved. You're not talking about teams folding here, okay? So the Raiders moved from Oakland to Las Vegas. The Chargers moved from San Diego to Los Angeles. Yes, not ideal, but that's what the owners wanted to do. And look at the franchise value since they did it. That's all that I'm saying. You're looking at it as a fan, and that's fine. You are a fan. But look at it from the league's perspective. They're in better markets, in brand new stadiums. And why, by the way, did they leave those cities? Because they couldn't get those new stadiums. Those old stadiums hold you back from making revenue for a variety of reasons. Smaller concessions, bigger lines, not as many luxury suites. You name it. So you, sir, are welcome to be worried about the future of the NFL if you want, but just take off the fan blinders and realize that the NFL has never been in better shape. Are you following their revenue, playing more international games than they've ever have before? I think is it 5 countries they're playing most ever this year, and going to Ireland for the first time, Spain, England, Germany, and Brazil. Yeah, 5 countries. So I'm following the NFL very closely. And to me, that's far more exciting than sitting and pissing and moaning about the future of the CFL when the CFL, from what I can see, is doing nothing to change where they're at. They're not expanding to new markets. They're not changing the rules largely. They're not going on other television, not yet anyways. So, yeah, that's why I'm so tired of that. That same Brandon continues and says that TSN and CFL need to be working on a big CFL deal. If it's not a blockbuster deal, the CFL needs to play hardball and threaten they have a backup plan. Okay, Brandon, we're done talking about this. You can go handle the negotiations. I think they'll handle it just fine. Thank you, BW, for pointing out that it's Thursday and John is on the golf course. John Ohm. He golfs on Thursday. That's the kind of community that we have here on the RP show. Skycron, that's producer Corey. He writes in, he says, also, if Luke is watching and reading, he is clearly keeping an eye on the show. He is more than welcome to come on the show, as Rod has said. We'll put him on. Listen, I won't go too deep into our relationship other than to say that Luke opened the door first, and then I've invited him 3 times to come on the show, and I get crickets. So come on. There are people that really want to get on this show. I'm not going to beg. Navy Don writes in and he says, nothing is ever too big to fail. In the 30s, boxing and horse racing were massive and by far the number 1 sports in America. Something we don't know what it'll be may come out of left field to hit them. Well, I'm not sitting waiting for the doomsday to hit the NFL. I'm not sitting around waiting for that. What I see is what I see, and they're kicking everybody's ass for reasons that I don't care to get into today. Ryan in Saratoga, New York writes in and says, the NFL is going to Australia in 2026. Their brand is growing. I'm not concerned about the NFL. No, of course not. Nobody is. Nobody that's reasonable is. That's the one thing. I mean, again, this is what Luke Wilson's battling, is the CFL old guard. He's not wrong. I get tired, frankly, going to the Grey Cups, sitting around the reporter's suite and bitching about the same. Do you think we'll ever have a 10th team? It's been the same thing for 60 freaking years. Enough! Go to the NFL, go to Super Bowls, and I'm learning this. And I'm a Cowboys fan, and as a guy pointed out to me in Las Vegas, he's like, have you noticed the Cowboys have never played in an international game? Because Jerry doesn't want to. Jerry Jones is like, I want to stay in America. We've made enough money here. We belong here. And the other owners are like, well, then you can stay here, Jerry. We're going to go around the world and make billions, and we'll send you the checks. But if you don't want to take the Cowboys outside of Texas or road games outside of America, I'm like, I never even noticed that before. But that's a thing. It's a difference in thinking. But the thing is, in the NFL, It doesn't matter who the biggest egos are, who has the most sway. The commissioner runs it. Whereas in the CFL, the teams and the owners run it, and that's why it hasn't changed in 100 years. Well, there's not much I can do here. Like Kirk in Toronto says, the only thing bigger for me, other than an Argos in the Grey Cup, is Luke Wilson coming on the RP show. Listen, we got to stop even trying to make this a thing. It's just the benefit of a little wisdom here. Luke's getting in Twitter wars with people that he'll never win with. And I've advised him to not. He didn't listen. I didn't listen, to my own peril. Utah Darren writes in and he says, doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different outcomes is the definition of insanity. The CFL needs to try new things. I don't plan on holding my breath. Well, Touchdown Pacific has been amazing for the BC Lions. There are some people in the league that are doing new, exciting things, but it's not the majority. Rich in Edmonton writes in, he says, I used to go to a game every year in Oakland. Haven't been to a single game in Vegas. Well, here's the other thing. Probably you were just in Quebec for a holiday, Rich in Edmonton. Everybody makes choices. I know a lot of people from Western Canada that are going to Vegas for the first time. So you may not be going, but if 2 more people are in, the Raiders are happy. Paul in Humboldt writes in and he says, I was in Australia in 2013 and was surprised to see live NFL games on the TVs and the restaurant and bars in the middle of the day. The NFL has global fans. I was on a cruise off the coast of Biscayne Bay, Florida, and there was a family there from Germany, and they asked what I did for a living or what have done. And I said that I was in the Canadian Football League for 20 years. And they said, oh, well, we know about the National Football League. What's the Canadian Football League? I said, it's just as it sounds. It's Canada's version of the NFL. Why have I never heard of that? Because you're from Germany. But he's heard of the NFL because it's on television there. I appreciate the discussion, Brandon, but we're not getting anywhere. I don't want to argue about this. He continues to go on about the problems with the NFL. The NFL doesn't have any problems, okay? I don't know what you're trying to get at. The owners are too greedy. The only reason the Rams moved to L.A. was because Jerry Jones brokered his side biz into the new stadium. Yeah, we know, Brandon. We know the owners are greedy, and they keep making more and more and more money, and you keep watching, and you keep buying tickets and jerseys. That's where the other leagues are following suit. NHL in Canada. With that, I wanted to spend more time in this segment talking about that hockey banquet the other night, and we got sidetracked on football, which is totally fine because I'm having fun with this. But what they were talking about, not necessarily Ken Holland and Tom Rennie and Craig Conroy and the guys that were there, but the guys I was talking to, the guys on my level, was how high, and those were the scouts, how high can this go in Canada, these ticket prices? I'm like, well, I don't know. Last I saw the orders, they're still selling out at the most outrageous ticket prices in the league. Leafs too, Flames. It keeps going up and up and up and up, and people keep paying. So you want to bitch about greedy owners? Go ahead. They don't care what you think. Get out your credit card. How did this morph into requesting who you'd like on the show for? We'll handle the guests. We'll handle it. 902-518-3033. Okay. Wilf on this, he says the Cowboys have played in Mexico. They have. It was Mexico City, correct? And it was a preseason game. And I feel like that doesn't count, but I get what you're saying. You're, splitting hairs here, and semantics, I believe, is what some are saying. And again, I don't think the Cowboys were the home team in that. But I'm just repeating what I picked up at Super Bowl in Las Vegas is that Jerry doesn't want to be part of this global thing. Ron in Calgary writes, and he says, Vegas, NFL, and NHL will be moving shortly as that city is slowly dying. Hey, Ron, I think we got different sources. They're currently building a Major League Baseball park at the site of the Tropicana, and they're the next to get an NBA team. So I think we're talking to, yeah. I'm not feeling you, bro. Kenny Nagunst joins us next. We're going to do an NFL tour and a whole lot of other things, a whole lot of shaking going on. My brother from another mother, Amarillo, Texas, his own, Kenny Nagunst joins us next. The inspiration for the movie Roadhouse, by the way. Patrick Swayze played him in the show. We'll be back in a moment. We're live on Game Plus Television, streaming live and found on all major podcast platforms.
Hiring a video company shouldn't be complicated. Click, pay, done. Skycron.com/Regina.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Sports fans, daytime sports talk gets a whole lot better weekdays at noon Eastern with the Rod Pedersen Show. Talking sports daily with A-list guests, and the best part is you can always join the discussion as we're the most interactive talk show on television. Broadcasting from coast to coast from the biggest events like Super Bowl, Stanley Cup Final, Grey Cup, and more. There's nothing like it in the game today. The Rod Pedersen Show, daily at noon Eastern and 10 p.m. Pacific on Game Plus Network.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Famoso, Italian pizzeria and bar. Taste, savor, share. Famoso, the spirit of Italian. Come in, enjoy.
This is a test pattern. This is what happens when your video company screws up. You don't want your clients to see a screw up. Hire a company that only does video, so it won't screw up. Then, people who give you money will see less of these and more of you. Skycron.com/live. Hiring a video company shouldn't be complicated. Click, pay, done. Skycron.com/Regina.
One of the beauties of live daytime sports talk shows is breaking news, and the Toronto Blue Jays have made a splash on today's MLB trade deadline day, acquiring former Cy Young winning pitcher Shane Bieber from the Cleveland Guardians. The 30-year-old Bieber is nearing a return from Tommy John surgery, hasn't pitched in the majors this season, but has had 4 quality starts in Double-A Akron, and we're all excited about that. The Blue Jays are in it to win it, as is Kenny Nagunst, the general manager of the Amarillo Warbirds, and from Texas's 806 Sports in Amarillo. How you doing, my guy?
I'm doing pretty good. How's Rod?
Rod is fantastic, Kenny. And I got to ask you this. Are you ready for some football? Thursday night football tonight, Hall of Fame game in Canton, Chargers and Lions. Did it sneak up on you, or are you ready for this?
Yeah, it kind of snuck on me a little bit with everything going on with the Warbirds and, radio show. But I'm excited for it. After, a couple of years ago, we were there for Zach Thomas, his induction, him, growing up, miles from us and being from the 806. So I was excited about it, to think back that I was there a couple of years ago, getting access that probably I don't know about deserved, but never expected. But can I have I have a question for you, Rod? Can I kick this off? So I want to know why you had me back on. Was it because this guy Luke couldn't show? Was Moose over at Henry Singers trying to pick him out a fancy new shirt? I mean, did he need a big ratings boost? But why did you have Kenny back on?
I had Kenny Nagunst back on today because I love you. I think you're a great guy. And as you heard me say, you're my brother from another mother. And exactly. I noticed you haven't had me on your radio station for some time. So we'll be discussing that later. As a matter of fact, it was going into the 4th of July celebration was the last time. I don't know, Kenny, it's nearing a month, but I just knew that you could talk some NFL with me, and that's what we're going to do. But what's keeping you busy? What's keeping you busy right now? Busiest guy I know in Amarillo, Texas.
Well, we've got, it's not an off season for us. We've got lots of sports going on, a lot of things, lots of things going on. Community driven, had somebody on a golf tournament local, for the United Way today. And I was trying to surprise you, but your appearance fee on our program is kind of eating into our $8.06 appearance fee budgets we have per month. But next Wednesday, big day in the 806, 12th anniversary. Next Wednesday, do you know the date? Next Wednesday, do you understand that, Ron?
8/8. Oh yeah, I was talking to my coach Lisa this morning, but continue.
806 next Wednesday, 806, our 12th anniversary, August the 6th.
Okay, gotcha. Okay. 8/6. I got you. Okay, my bad.
806. So maybe we get you on for the big 806 12th anniversary show.
I work, as you know, I probably showed you this when we were together in Burlington, Ontario, one day at a time, Kenny. So I'm not thinking about next week. What I'm thinking about is the National Football League. And you're sitting there in Amarillo, and just tell me, please, what you're seeing out of NFL training camp coverage. I feel like we're all taking little bits off the buffet. I'm sure you guys got a Golden Corral down there. What are you taking from your NFL preseason training camp buffet coverage?
I'm seeing a bunch of injuries that are changing future bets. For a guy who loves the number, the over and the under, you bet a number, and the next thing you know, a big star gets hurt. Especially, I'm not a Cowboy fan, a Buccaneer fan, and I love me some Terry Bradshaw. Knowing that, Dallas Cowboy fans around here taking a big sigh of relief when, you think it's in maybe a whole knee or something, then it's just not just, but, it's a bone fracture. The early injuries, I think, changed this early in the preseason because, we always talk about it when you try to do an over and under on a program, let's go through the Cowboy schedule and see what you think they're going to be. And it's always that, well, if they're healthy, well, you just got to wash that away. But the injuries that happen, it seems like nearly every day we hear another injury. And that's kind of the talk around 806 has been.
Yeah, well, I enjoy listening to you talk, Kenny, but what I don't enjoy is the football people with this. They have scaled back these training camps to the point where there's less padded practices than there's ever been, less contact there's ever been, and yet injuries are the story. This isn't supposed to be the thing. Like, they must be pulling their hair out going, how is this happening? I don't know the answer. I wonder why is it happening?
I wonder, especially we do so much high school football around here, and they've narrowed it down practices around here in high school, but the athletes come in such great shape now. Back in the day, they weren't in great shape. I mean, I'm not talking Don Maynard back in, when you played high school football in the 50s and the 60s. I'm talking about, 20, 30 years ago, the players weren't in such great shape. That's what it came back for. Now, high school players, college players, they come rolled in all fit. So I can't blame it on that. These players, I mean, an NFL guy that's, a 6'8" offensive lineman still is as fit as he can be. It's not just, two-a-days or trying to get him in shape, unlike, the big giant dude that Tampa got, and, still trying to get him in shape, and I put pads on him. But I think the injury bug comes from it's a lot. I mean, I just think the tendons and the ligaments, you can get your chest bigger, you can get your arms bigger, you can become a huge athlete, but your tendons and your ligaments and all the things that get damaged, especially the Achilles can only handle so much. And when you're 6'8", 350, or you're moving, Rod, you've been on sidelines. You go to a high school game on the sidelines, you don't worry about getting rolled up. College, you think about it a little bit more. Then you get to the pros, you're scared on the sidelines because the side to side, the speed of a linebacker or a guy who's 6'4" and 270 pounds, they run faster than receivers did 20, 25 years ago. So I just think, I know people don't understand, but I ran a health club for a while. And I just think you can't strengthen the ligaments, the tendons, and all those things, and that ends up what's failing with most of the injuries we see.
It's open to much debate, and it's just with all the training that goes on and the recovery benefits, and you're working now in pro football, and they still can't figure injuries happen. I will say it's a God thing or something like that. BW writes in, he says, we need to get the budget increase so Kenny can get up for the CFL Banjo Bowl or Labor Day Classic. I do want to get into your latest football venture, but a CFL game live. We did have the chance in Toronto to go. That was the game that Luke Wilson's referred to as hot garbage that I think will stick with him forever. But what's your, on a 1 to 10 interest level to go to a live Canadian Football League game?
8.06. I'd love to come. No, I mean, it's a joke, but I'm a 9. I've always dreamed to come see Canadian football. The rules are a little different. I can figure it out. I'm a goofball, but not an idiot. But no, I'd love to come. I mean, 806 Sports report a little bit, busier time, but I'd love to come to CFL game. I've watched it. I've liked it for a long time. Lots of famous people went through there. I enjoy football. I enjoy the faster pace. That's why I like the arena football game. I like a lot of football. I love a 17 to 14 NFL game. I don't like a 10 to 3. But I enjoy a 6 to 5 hockey game, but also like a 2 to 1. But I don't like a 1-0 hockey game. So I like the excitement of the Canadian football. I'd love to come up there. I'd love to see it.
Well, you're a sportsman. You're a sports guy. That particular night, we ended up going to Niagara Falls, and I do not regret that, except for you didn't come all the way from Amarillo, Texas, to go to an Applebee's. But we won't get into that. We won't get into that. Can we, before, I do want to talk about the Cowboys, and give me your take in a second. I know that you're not a Cowboys fan, and I also want to talk about that mountain. Yeah, I know. And I also want to talk about that mountain lineman that's in camp with the Buccaneers, because everybody's talking about this guy. But just tell me about the Amarillo Warbirds for our viewers. That is going to be our indoor football league team, the Amarillo Warbirds. Tell us about them.
Well, we appreciate that. We're going to play March, April, May. The franchise came from Odessa, a great guy named Leif Curtis. We have 3 ownership groups, Derek Uris and Kathy Schick. Great ownership group, all local ownership group, allowing me to make it really community-driven. Leif won a couple of championships, so we're going to play some championship football. We're going to win some football games, but we're also going to help the community. We are, you got to understand, y'all don't understand the 806. If you don't know where the 806 is, it's at the top of Texas. And we are football country, whether it's high school or college or pro football. We eat, we've got a hockey team, but we eat, sleep, breathe football around here. So it's going to be exciting. We have a great 5,000 seat bowl that's, perfect for it. Exciting. Acoustics are awesome. We've got players, settled in. It's going to be a fantastic year. It's going to be football you've never seen because it's going to be community driven. It's going to be fun. We're going to celebrate next year. I'm not sure how much you're aware, but the United States celebrates 250 years next year. We're going to All-American, with the logo, red, white, and blue. We're going to have a blast in there, and we're going to celebrate. We're celebrating a lot of the militaries. It's going to be fun and very, very affordable. The prices for our tickets are going to be something you've never seen because we want a packed house. That helps with the excitement. And I'm telling you, we're going to wear rings around here. I can tell you that much.
I don't doubt it. Just by the way, so that's going to be in the indoor football league, correct? The IFL?
Right.
Yeah.
No. The National Arena League.
NIFL. Okay, cool. Because there are
NAL.
Yeah, there are a few leagues, as you know, but I'm just telling our viewers because Arlen Bruce, the fourth son of Arlen Bruce III, CFL great, is playing in the indoor football league. But it's a way for guys to play football, and make a paycheck
keep
at
their
it
dream
and
alive.
keep their dream alive. I love it. And I will be in Amarillo, Texas to watch these games. There's no doubt about that. Now, just down the road from you is Canyon, Texas. And I didn't even know about this, but our close friend Matt Dubuck, who comes on this show fairly regularly, high school coach in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, Cardinal Gibbons High School, said that he coached at Canyon for a couple of years. And he said he came there from Miami as a Dolphins fan. And not that he was ostracized, but he certainly didn't fit in. He said it's Cowboys country. How do they feel around there about the Dallas Cowboys here as we are getting ready to kick off the preseason?
Okay, first of all, they're winning the Super Bowl. They're going undefeated. That's from what I get. I don't. The realism with the Cowboy fan is not very accurate. It's their team. They bleed it. It's probably the most popular team in other parts of the country. Go to Arizona, there's tons of Cowboy fans. I mean, they travel well. And plus, people don't understand. So many people in Texas end up moving other places since we're such a big state. So there's thousands of people that live in Arizona that are from, Texas. And it's, it's nice to be a Texan fan now. For a long time, they want to be an Oilers fan. So it is the team. I mean, it is America's team. We probably could reevaluate that if we wanted to. But I'm not going to say they're delusional, but you haven't been successful. Yeah, you had a couple of 12 win seasons a few years ago, but one and done is kind of a dream for a lot of them. I believe it's the curse of Tom Landry. Ever since Tom got let go, they've had a couple of licks, but it's not even a joke. You're going to watch the Cowboy Championship, you better have the History Channel.
Yeah, well, we had 3 in the 90s, of course. But I wanted the viewers to get a sense of what it's like living in Texas and being a Cowboys fan because, I'm not big on Twitter wars, Kenny. I know you wouldn't be big on social media wars either, but you say anything bad about Dak Prescott at all, and they're jumping down your throat. I'm like, what's he done? What has he done? I was going to actually ask you this. I saw this question the other day on NFL Network. They said, who's the most overrated quarterback in the NFL? I'm like, I can tell you right now, Dak Prescott. And he plays for my team. I'm not sure you would agree with that, but who would you say is the most overrated quarterback in the National Football League?
You're ready for it to blow up?
Sure.
Patrick Mahomes.
Oh, come on.
Come on, man. Barely 500 in the Super Bowl. Can I say ass whooping on here? He took 2 butt whoopings, 9 points against Tampa Bay, scored 22 last year, and they got demolished. He gets a lot of the credit. Why can't he get some of the blame? I just don't understand. And I covered him at Texas Tech. I like him, but he's not. Is he in the top 5 quarterbacks ever? I don't know. You can't be.
No.
They're one game from 500 in the Super Bowl, and that's not that great. I mean, the best.
Continue.
You asked me. Asked me. I'm okay with Dak. I mean, remember a couple years ago, that very first game against Tampa in the house, and he got injured, and I just don't. They've got a lot more pieces. They need offensive linemen. They need a lot of help. They kind of have a tough schedule. It's just I know you say the 90s. That's 30 years ago, Rod.
I know. Hey, listen, I'm not defending him.
Half of our life, Rod, they haven't been kind of relevant.
I'm not defending them. I'm as pissed off as anybody. But how could you possibly say Patrick Mahomes is more overrated than Dak Prescott, who can't even win a playoff game, let alone a Super Bowl? Kenny, come on, get out of here.
Because he has expectations. I say right now they don't even win their division. I got Denver. I got Denver's defense winning that division. Now they go from Super Bowls, supposed to win 3 in a row, and they don't three-peat, and the next thing you know, they're in the, they're, I don't know, one and done. They don't win their division. Now they're a wild card. Does a wild card come from them with 10 wins? I mean, that wild card in the AFC is going to be tough. You're going to need 11 to make a wild card maybe over there. There's some great teams in the AFC.
Ladies and gentlemen, we'll be submitting Kenny Nagunst for a drug test after the program today. Laverne in Swift Current writes in and says, I love asking the football guys questions. By the way, I was driving through Swift Current yesterday on the way back here to Rolling Hills, brown Rolling Hills. I was like, I feel like Texas. It looks like Texas around Swift Current, Saskatchewan, Kenny, just so you know. He says, I love asking the guys questions. Who are the surprise teams for the NFL upcoming season? I'd be curious to get Kenny's take on it.
Surprise team. Give me, are you ready for this one? Carolina. Sure. Just watch. I mean, they're not supposed to win 2 or 3 or 4. Just watch.
I don't even know who the
quarterback. You wanted a surprise. I understand, but you wanted a surprise, right?
Yeah. Oh, it's the former Alabama quarterback. That's all. Yeah, well, hey, yep. You're coming in here throwing curveballs, so that's totally fine. Because not a lot of us would have said Washington last year. Like, they were the team that came out of nowhere, right?
Right.
And continue.
Their division also, penciling in. I was surprised by that. That's a great quarterback, but I need a bigger sample size from him before people are putting him in top 5 already, and I just need a bigger sample size.
Yeah, Bryce Young is the quarterback in Carolina. You threw me for a total loop. I was not ready for that. Kirk in Toronto writes in, he says, Mr. Nagunst, the Battle of 1873 resumes annually on Labor Day, and sir, you won't be disappointed. Ticats, Argos, and you can go to Niagara Falls. They want to get you back up. Let's talk about that for a sec, Kenny. You'd never been to Canada before. We met June 19th. I'll never forget the day. You're the kind of guy that I'll remember this for the rest of my life. The day that we met, June 19th. Yeah. What'd you think about Canada?
I loved it. I did. I loved it. I wish I could have saw more. I want to go see I want to see the outback of Canada because I love, nature and all that. I want to see more of that. I saw a couple of cities. I did see Niagara Falls. It was beautiful. The people, y'all don't need to be New York. Pick up your head and kind of walk around, be proud that you're from Canada. Just walking around in the streets. Canadian people, I'm not saying they weren't friendly, but I'm hi y'all to everybody. Of course, they figured I was talking a foreign language maybe, and I talk a little fast, but I really enjoyed it. Great people. If you're anywhere, I know you're bi-coastal and bi-countryal, if that's a word. If the people are anything like you, good people. The people were great, the ones I actually visited with, and they opened up to me.
Kenny,
I definitely want to go see more.
You were walking by some lady on the bridge that night in Burlington on the Saturday night, and you were like, she turned to you and says, are you talking to yourself? And you said, yeah, I'm the best listener. I'm like, he's my friend. Don't mind him, Kenny Nagunst from 806 Sport. Yeah, she just was thrown by a loop. You're just talking to yourself. Apparently that's a common thing, Kenny.
Well, okay.
We have 30 seconds.
Do you care about? Okay. Do you care? Okay. I'm a Gemini. I have 2 people with me all the time. I'm the best listener, so I talk to myself.
1 in a million, ladies and gentlemen. Kenny Nagunst from 806 Sports in Amarillo, Texas. Okay, let's do it again soon, my dog, and we'll be keeping in touch.
I will. I'll get you back on. We'll work on an appearance fee. Put that makeup on. We'll get you on.
We got a sports update coming up, and viewer takeover 902-518-3033, the number to reach us here in the Western Dodge text line. He is 1 in a million there. Kenny Nagunst, right back here on Game Plus TV.
Famoso, Italian pizzeria and bar. Taste, savor, share. Famoso, the spirit of Italian. Come in, enjoy.
This is a test pattern. This is what happens when your video company screws up. You don't want your clients to see a screw-up. Hire a company that only does video, so it won't screw up. Then, people who give you money will see less of these and more of you. Skycron.com/live.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Sports fans, daytime sports talk gets a whole lot better weekdays at noon Eastern with the Rod Pedersen Show. Talking sports daily with A-list guests, and the best part is, you can always join the discussion as we're the most interactive talk show on television. Broadcasting from coast to coast from the biggest events like Super Bowl, Stanley Cup Final, Grey Cup, and more, there's nothing like it in the game today. The Rod Pedersen Show, daily at noon Eastern and 10 p.m. Pacific on Game Plus Network.
This is a test pattern. This is what happens when your video company screws up. You don't want your clients to see a screw-up. Hire a company that only does video, so it won't screw up. Then, people who give you money will see less of these and more of you. Skycron.com/live.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Hiring a video company shouldn't be complicated. Click, pay, done. Skycron.com/Regina.
All right, welcome back, everybody, on a Thursday, 24 hours ahead of a football Friday. Can you believe I broke my Quick Six show horn? No, I dropped it, shattered into pieces. I tried to put it back together. All it is now is a wind chime. Not even that. $5 out the window. Sports update coming up, but I do want to thank Daryl Slade. Jeff the Stamps fan, you'll love this. Daryl Slade sent this to Moose Jaw, care of the Moose Jaw Miller Express of the Western Canadian Baseball League. Calgary Stampeders historian. This is the book that he's been working on. 1948 Grey Cup, the Stampeders special. The year John Frenzy started following the CFL when the Stampeders were the first and last team to go unbeaten through the regular season all the way to the Grey Cup. Here's his book on that. I can't wait to read it. Thank you, Daryl Slade in Calgary. He loves this program like so many of you do, and that's why you're watching it. And, well, I certainly have no problem talking about the CFL in the summertime. I will not do it in the winter because not even CFL people talk about themselves in the winter. Why would I? But the poll question today is CFL related for EMJ Marketing. Are you worried about the future of the CFL? Because unfortunately, that is the narrative, and 58% of you saying you are not. Put me down as a no, but not for the reasons you would think. Mark in Burlington, Ontario writes in and he says, "Hi, Rod. I have loved the CFL for 50 years, and all I want to do is watch great football and ignore any noise. I'm too old to stress over the negative chatter." Right? It's fun. It's fun watching the Luke Wilson stuff, and it's not fun being part of it. And I'll say it again. I love watching him on Friday Night Football. We just disagree on the CFL's problems, but that's not new. Gary, right? Oh, let me read the sports update first, then I'll get to Gary's comment from Penticton, BC. Breaking news, pitcher Shane Bieber is headed to the American League East leading Toronto Blue Jays in a deal with the rebuilding Cleveland Guardians, who also dealt right-hander Paul Sewell in the division to the AL Central leading Tigers. The Guardians began today's trade deadline in second place in the AL Central, 9 games behind Detroit. They're potentially in the wild card race, but their moves signal this has become a spiraling season. Cleveland closer Emmanuel Claes, a 3-time All-Star, was placed on non-disciplinary paid leave as part of a Major League Baseball investigation into sports betting earlier in the week. Pausing the sports update to read this text from Gary with 2 R's in Penticton, BC. He says, are the Jays out of their mind getting Bieber, who won't pitch till October? Albeit they gave up nothing for him. This is taking a big chance. Well, I think the Blue Jays have proven, and they should puff their chests out, because there were a lot of naysayers across this country, including me, to even be in this position. And I'll relate this to the Florida Panthers acquiring an injured Brad Marchand at the trade deadline. He didn't skate for at least a month, longer than that, I think, after the Panthers got him. And look what he did in the playoffs. Hello, Jeff the Stamps fan. Listen, you can email. Jeff the Stamps fan says, I got to get me that book. Where can I buy? Email Daryl Slade, Calgary Stampeders historian. I don't think Daryl will mind me giving you his email address on the air. Do you mind, Daryl, if this is for book sales? pigskinpackrat@shaw.ca. Just like it sounds. Pigskinpackrat, P-A-C-K. Pigskinpackrat@shaw.ca. Email him and get your copy. You're welcome. I'm not even done the sports update. Hey, I'll save these comments for after the break. I didn't even get through the sports update yet. The Detroit Lions fell way short last season, going 1-and-done in the playoffs. After having the best regular season in franchise history, they still have a loaded roster stacked with talent and plenty of unfinished business. The Lions kick off their quest for their first Super Bowl title when they take on the Los Angeles Chargers on Thursday night. NFL preseason football tonight in the NFL's Hall of Fame game. The Chargers are also coming off a season that ended with a loss in their playoff opener, a wild card game against Houston. But it was a different vibe in LA where Jim Harbaugh came in and led a 6-win improvement. Now it's year 2. Will you be watching tonight? I'm going to watch as much as I can. 6:30 kickoff tonight, I believe, on the NFL Network. Sports update brought to you by Seat Giant. Stop paying U.S. dollars for games and concerts. Canadian-owned and operated with Canadians in mind. Super Bowl, college football, Taylor Swift, Justin Timberlake. They've got it all. Use promo code RPShow for 15% off now. Check us out at seatgiant.ca. All comments from the viewers when we come back for overtime right after this, live on the Game Plus television network and live streaming.
This is a test pattern. This is what happens when your video company screws up. You don't want your clients to see a screw-up. Hire a company that only does video, so it won't screw up. Then, people who give you money will see less of these and more of you. Skycron.com/live.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Sports fans, daytime sports talk gets a whole lot better weekdays at noon Eastern with the Rod Pedersen Show. Talking sports daily with A-list guests, and the best part is you can always join the discussion as we're the most interactive talk show on television. Broadcasting from coast to coast from the biggest events like Super Bowl, Stanley Cup Final, Grey Cup, and more. There's nothing like it in the game today. The Rod Pedersen Show, daily at noon Eastern and 10 p.m. Pacific on Game Plus Network.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Famoso, Italian pizzeria and bar. Taste, savor, share. Famoso, the spirit of Italian. Come in, enjoy.
Do you worry about how much someone drinks?
Do you feel angry or depressed most of the time? Do you feel neglected or unloved?
Do you feel that if the drinker loved you, she or he would stop drinking?
If you answered yes to any of these questions, you are not alone.
Not everyone trapped by alcohol is an alcoholic.
Families and friends are suffering too.
Al-Anon and Alateen can help.
Call 1-866-200-0223 or visit alanon.org/help.
Looking for a new ride without the big city pressure? Come to Western Dodge in Moose Jaw, where you'll find an unbeatable lineup of Ram trucks, Jeep SUVs, Dodge Muscle, and Chrysler family rides. With knowledgeable staff, great prices, and that friendly Moose Jaw touch, you'll drive away with confidence. Western Dodge, big selection, small town service. Visit us today or browse online at westerndodge.ca. Ta-da! Wardrobe change here on the RP Show. How about this jacket, everybody? I've been waiting to debut it here in overtime. I hope they're still watching at Overtime Hockey Lanes in Calgary. Randy was running around. Yeah, it's very cool. Thank you. It's very new age, kind of 70s, too. This is the Overtime Hockey Lanes logo. There's a big logo on the back. Randy was running around there yesterday, and he's like, hey, I got a gift for you. He throws me the bag, and I'm like, I really love your tracksuit. I love those LA Kings colors. And he just smiled. He's like, open it. It was a tracksuit of my own in Los Angeles Kings, old school colors. So thank you, Randy. I will wear it with pride from Overtime Hockey Lanes in Calgary, one of our longest standing sponsors. Business is up for them. It makes me very happy. Advertising works. I switched my computer over to this side. Don't blame me. And now there's a glare off my glasses. I said that we would go to the comments here after the break. We're asking Kenny Nagunst who's going to be the surprise teams in the NFL. He says Carolina. I didn't go along with that, but Ryan in upstate New York writes in. He says, I think Carolina is going to surprise a lot of people too. Bryce Young got stronger towards the end of the 2024 season. We couldn't get much worse, but I'm a Crimson Tide fan, Alabama guy. I hope for the best for the Panthers and Bryce Young. Air Corps writes in and he says, no Vernon Adams and Zach Caleros this weekend. I'm worried about the quality of football this weekend. How about we stop worrying? How about we do that? Can we do that? How about we all stop worrying for a while and just watch the games? Worrying is like rocking in a rocking chair. It gives you something to do, but it doesn't get you anywhere. Write it down, Producer Corey. Worrying is like rocking in a rocking chair. It gives you something to do. It doesn't get you anywhere. Yeah, I broke my kazoo. I thought it would be an easy fix. It's useless now. And it even matched my tracksuit. Say what? It's like a bad night in Vegas, he says. A broken kazoo or a purple tracksuit. It's okay. Oh, a new kazoo. Rich says a new kazoo is required. It was only $5 at John's Music here in Moose Jaw, so I think I can swing that. Carlos in Indianapolis says that's an interesting take on worry, given the poll question. Well, I don't like the narrative, but Carlos, you've been watching all day. What did I say? At some point, you got to go with the flow and just go with it and stop being a fish swimming upstream. I'd rather talk about the games. And it reminds me of the 90s when I was the pre- and post-game show host for Rough Riders football, but I wasn't the play-by-play guy. And I used to go in every week and interview the general manager, Alan Ford. And this was 90s CFL, where a lot of you weren't even thought of back then, but it was a grease fire. You think you're worried now about this league. You should have seen back then. Oh, my God, there was teams folding every day. And I would go in there and drop my tape recorder down and go to interview Al Ford and ask him about business issues and this owner being a crook and this guy going to jail and this whatever. He's like, can we just talk about football? And I love Al, still do. But I didn't know enough about football to ask any football question. This was what was in the news. So I asked him about it. And then now here's me, that old codger myself, going, can we just talk about football? And a tremendous game tonight. I hope it is. The Calgary Stampeders at the Ottawa Red Blacks. And, you talk about VA not playing and Zach Caleros. Well, maybe PJ Walker becomes a star tonight. Why do Jeff the Stamps fan gets it? Yeah, it's not ideal that the number one guys aren't playing every game. But there are other people. Can we watch for them? All those people that say, there's more people than just Connor Bedard on the team. What, can you name 3 of them? No, you can't. Hang on. 902-518-3033. Just checking out what they got going on. Blair in Calgary writes in. Thank you, Blair, from the 403. Hello, Rod. It was a pleasure to meet you yesterday. Keep up the good work with the show and continue not to take any crap from anyone. Signed, Blair. Well, I'm trying not to. A lot of people make it not that easy. He did enjoy a lot of my stories yesterday before we even went to air. And it's funny. I told a story about Daryl Sutter and how, I've done events with Daryl and we've argued and I don't think he likes me very much, but I don't care. But I was at that hockey banquet the other night and he spoke. He's part of the hot stove. He was hilarious. He was the guy that everybody's told me lurks under that tough exterior. Jarrett Stoll told me about that. His brother Rich told me about that. And I'm like, well, I've never seen that side of him. So you can tell me all you want that there is that side until he shows it to me. I will. And then I saw it the other night and he was very funny. Daryl Sutter. He shows that to very few people, but he was in a room full of hockey people. He obviously felt very comfortable being able to do that. It was big fun. He's the guy that said, our mom's 89. Wasn't she in the Hall of Fame? Which is a good point. Brian Sutter. I talked to Theo a lot about playing for him, and he said Brian was intense, but he was fair. What more can you ask than that? But Brian said, the host, Dennis Bayak, said, what contributes to your success as a head coach, Brian? He goes, well, if you give respect, you will get respect. And that leads to the second most important human emotion, and that is trust. You can't have one without the other. He kind of went in explaining that. Now I'm just sitting there. We all were spellbound because there are a lot of us that are old school. The Sutters are old school. It was a room full of old school hockey people. And my heart left there full. So proud to say that my dad was part of that, and even more proud to have been welcomed to represent him and accept on his behalf. It was just a fantastic night. I threw my kazoo away, but I do have my pen. It's been a lot of fun here today, everybody. Tomorrow, a Football Friday. The Moose will be right back tomorrow, and Jim Barker as well. We'll see you then here live on Game Plus Television.
Now I'm the whore and the pimp. That's where the money is.
How about that?